Well, delightful to be standing here and talking to you all. In those days it was easier to be ordained than it was to become a mitra. It's his fault. Actually, my story has quite a lot of overlap with yours, Polly. I was also at art college when I was 19. I was looking for a blueprint. I was looking for someone to tell me what being an artist was, what art was about, what life was about really. And I had sort of two models in my life. I had my family, which was steady and secure and safe and sensible, and I had my teachers at art college, who were off the wall. They'd be quite passionate. They'd have sort of lovely ideas and very interesting, but then I'd see them hardly being able to walk along the road for being drunk. There was sort of passion and idealism in a certain sort of sense on the one side, and then a very sort of sensible, practical people on the other. And when I met members of the Western Buddhist order, as it was, members of Triratna order, I met both combined in order members, and that was a great find for me. So I was 19. I was going along to art college, and I had a friend we were sharing a studio. Oh no, we weren't. We were about to share a studio, but I met him anyway, and I loved the way he talked about art, and we set up this little group of and we produced this sort of manifesto about what art was and so on. So I was coming across all these terrific ideas with him, and then eventually I got along to the Buddhist Center, and the ideas first of all were wonderful. Just to hear the ideas about Buddhism, about the spiritual faculties, hearing about the Bodhisattva. And what's more, they were communicated to me by people who seemed to be able to live out, to have ideals and be able to live them out, and people I could talk to normally and so on. So it was a wonderful find and a great relief to come across them. My art college days ended okay. I didn't do very well with my degree. My art teacher, he thought Buddhism was just a distraction really, and that I'd sort of wasted my time a bit in art college, I think. But I didn't think so. I thought my life was going very well, because I was already a member of the order when I took a year off to be ordained and went back and got on with it. So I was pretty happy with it. And art did. I had some wonderful experiences with art. Both before ordination and after. Discovering colour, painting with colour with the Impressionists, and then later on discovering other things, discovering Cézanne, and I had a really great time. So for me, there wasn't a split really between the art that I was interested in and the Dharma. So I soon enough I went on meditation retreats. I only did 2 weekend retreats, and then I asked for ordination, and then I was on the ordination course. So it was all rather fast, and it was a bit terrifying, to be honest, when I got back. The order in Brighton, this was in Brighton, we were only 4 of us then, including me and my mate who were at art college. He got ordained at the same time. He became Yashodeva. And then there was 2 other order members, Mangala, who some of you might know from London, and Surata, who's now up at Pamaloka. So there was just the 4 of us, and later on there was a few others, but very soon there was quite a lot of disharmony in the order in Brighton, and I found myself a bit stuck in the middle between them. I wasn't a very formed sort of individual. I didn't really know what I thought about things. And we're all, in a way, pretty young and naive, and hell-bent on our personal growth and what we wanted to do, but we really weren't able to get on together very well. So there was quite a lot of friction, and meetings weren't easy. But anyway, struggled along, Um, going on meditation retreats, I had some of my first tastes of deeper meditation, which confirmed my enthusiasm and idealism that these ideas were really true. I was having my own experiences. I absolutely loved Sangharakshita's book, The Religion of Art. I do recommend that. You might come across a bit old-fashioned, but there's some absolutely fantastic ideas in there. And I just gradually deepened to what I could, in the way I could. I always craved being able to sort of commit myself to something. I never did very big paintings. I was always sketchy, and I still am actually. But and I wanted to commit myself longer term. And I remember going to see Bhante once and saying, I don't know what I think I ought to commit myself to something. And he said, well, what's the Dharma then? I said, it's meditation and insight. He said, okay, well, go and get on with that then. Enough said. So you don't have to commit yourself to doing this or that. Just go and do it, and do in a way you just carry on what you're doing. You're doing okay. So that's what I did. I went back to Brighton. I finished my art course. And then I did bits and bobs of work, and eventually became manager in the Buddhist Centre. Just working on a weekly, monthly, and then a sort of a session basis, just working a little bit in the Buddhist Centre, going on longer retreats. So each year I do a retreat 1 week longer. So eventually I did a retreat of 4 weeks up at Vajraloka, and on that I thought, I could be chairman of the Buddhist Centre. So I was 27 then, and I went back and did that because the guy who was chair then left. So I became chair of the Buddhist Centre, quite unconfident, not an easy time with all this lack of harmony. There were more order members around then, but still it was quite a difficult place to be. But anyway, struggled on, got on with it, did what I had to do, tried to be friendly with people and organise, good events. And we used to on celebration days, on festival days, we used to have 4-day Sangha Day events. We used to really go for the festivals, and I'd put on these little mini opera events. I'd paint a big landscape on the back wall, and then I'd sing Handel arias in countertenor, and we'd have someone else singing soprano, and with a cello and harpsichord, and it was great fun, just sort of playing, really, having a good, and just enjoying doing anything you fancy. It was great. And I remember making a big tanker of the Buddha in the Buddhist Centre, this big applique tanker, which I think it was in 85. It was hung up in that hall in Victoria Street. I can't remember what it's called, Red Line Square. So I'm looking at David Mitra here. He's over there. So a big tanker of the Buddha, and just did it in one of the reception rooms, and I used to sleep under it at night. And then I just carried on working in the Buddhist Centre, gaining a bit more confidence. Then eventually I went out to India for a visit for 4 months to make 3 massive big tankers of the Buddha, of Dr. Ambedkar, and of Bhante. That was a wonderful time, being out there working with a team of young men who were doing all the sewing. Again, it was applique. I was cutting out and pinning on, and then they were sewing. So that was a wonderful thing to do. And at the end of that, I decided to be an anagarika, so that's practicing chastity. I thought, well, I can't write a book on Buddhism, but I think I could give up sex. So I thought, well, I'll just do that then, and decided, well, I'll try 1 year. Did a year, did 2 years, did 5 years, and just increased it. So I was really on a flow, very, very, very happy, very engaged, very idealistic. I think to practice chastity, you do need to have a very positive ambition in a way. You need something you really want to do to replace the pleasure of love and everything. So I got into that, and I had a very good time in India. I came back for a year, and then eventually I decided in 1993 to move out to Guhyaloka our retreat centre in Spain, and I was there for 12 years, pretty much all of it living like a monk, doing loads of retreats, long working retreats, and then the ordination courses. I ended up leading a couple of ordination courses, so I was very sort of passionately involved with it. Had a very good time most of it. But towards the end of that, I started having trouble. I started to run out of steam, and I think what was going on was my idea of myself was very strong. The ideas of progress were very strong, but I still had, I think, more deeper emotional, maybe not deeper, but some emotional darkness that I hadn't sorted out. And I think my practice was very sort of me. It was very me doing things. I want to gain this. I want to attain that. And that started falling apart. The community wasn't a very happy one. This was 2003. I hurt my back, but I think it was a midlife crisis. I was 45 by then. And it's interesting, isn't it? Some people have midlife crises. It's sort of the other way around, when they've been working for donkey's years and they think, well, where's my life going? And maybe they give up their job and do something else. Whereas for me, it was like, I've lived all my life in Triratna. Is that going to be? Have I really made? Is that all I want to do with my life? And I thought, maybe I do want to go and do some other things. So becoming an anagarika and giving up sex was just, in a way, it just became a negative sort of thing. It was just something I didn't do, and obviously something I quite like to do. So I decided to change that, and I gave up doing that and moved to Valencia. I didn't want to come back to England and sort of be the same person again. I wanted to sort of keep a sense of going forward, but I'd lost my vision of myself, as it were, my career in Triratna. I'd sort of lost a vision for myself in that clear away, and that was very humiliating. It's a difficult thing to do. So I moved to Valencia and started up my little building business, and I needed another view of myself. Triratna had given me a wonderful, positive view of myself. And then that I lost that, so I needed another perspective, another view of myself. So marriage and work sort of became those, and to some extent just living in Spain and meeting people and gaining a sense of a sort of social life there, which went well. The marriage was okay to start with, but I'm afraid I had difficulty. And then I was involved still with Order Chapter. We met weekly, and my business went okay, and I carried on going along to the Buddhist Centre and helping out there and attending things there. We used to have a lovely Saturday night meditation and puja night there. So we all turn up about 6:30 on a Saturday. So we're all quite rested, and then at 7:30 we'd do a meditation and puja, and I just did it with my friend Amalamati, who used to be at LBC. And then after the class, about 10 or something, we'd all go off for a pizza. So we had a whole lot, from 6:30 till midnight. We were all together, this group of people, in the nice sort of hot little lanes in Valencia. It was a terrific, lovely thing to do every Saturday. But the main really positive thing in Valencia was my chapter. That was a really wonderful group of men, and they listened to me, and they were very, very kind to me, and I'll always be very, very grateful for them for that. And I think I started to really sort of feel like the importance of my friends in my life, and friends back here. So I feel a lot of gratitude to those friends in Valencia, Mokshananda, Amalamati, and others, Vajranatha. So quite a few years of that. getting on, in a way, sort of just allowing myself to do what I wanted to do. But inevitably, my marriage wasn't going so well. Work seemed to be drying up, and I fancied doing something else again. I felt sort of urges coming on in me to once again be involved in some sort of project. There was talk of possibly going over to Mexico for a year, maybe. There was talk of going and doing another retreat at another ordination course at Yashodeva. And these things were sort of, oh, that's interesting. You feel a bit excited about that again, don't you? So things were bubbling away, and then this place was bought. And I said, I'll let it be known I'd be interested to come. And I came. And my process of what I would call integration has carried on since being here. So when I think about myself as a Buddhist, in a way now, it's much more to do with other people. It's much more to do with a growing, being part of a community, doing things together, making things together. In a way, I could say I'm a Buddhist, almost in a way not because of me, but because of Bhante, because of the Buddha, because of Adhisthana, because of Guhyaloka, because of Brighton, because of all the places I've just sort of managed to move onto, and have my self reflected back to me, and had me challenged, had me supported, listened to. That's happened throughout my life. So in a way, I'm a Buddhist because you're here. There's this context I can come here and be a Buddhist. Do you know what I mean? It's not, in a way, it's just why I am a Buddhist. It's to be a Buddhist. I certainly need a context. So all those friends in Valencia are terribly important to me now, and my friends here are very important to me. Just that kindness shown to me over the years has given me a sense of a new sense of direction and purpose and trust. So I think I'll leave it there. Thank you.